What's up, people? Welcome to this episode of the By the Hood webcast/podcast. Again, I don't know how you're consuming this content, but welcome nonetheless. By the way, if you are listening to this on audio, Apple, Google, Spotify, however you listen to it, make sure you share it. Make sure you hit the like if whatever platform you has a like button, and make sure you give us some feedback. 5-star review, please. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, kill the like button, share it. And I want to say that up front because, listen, man, we've been getting a lot of great feedback from our last couple episodes. The last 3 episodes, the last episode that we had with Brother Malik Carter got amazing feedback. The episode with Ish went through the roof, crazy feedback. And the other one, it's actually 4 big ones. Lance, that came on and talked about options, crazy feedback. And shout out to our brother Tom, too. I mean, those episodes did a crazy numbers for us, and got a lot of great feedback. So what we want to do is continue to bring you brothers and sisters from the community, building businesses, doing things in the community. It's funny. One of the comments I got today is someone told me, man, you keep interviewing all these extraordinary people. I don't know anyone like that. And I'm like, listen, I was telling the young brother, I'm like, listen, brother, it's a lot of us out there doing amazing things. But those stories aren't told all the time. Now, there are other shows that are telling those stories, and I salute them as well because these stories have to be told. And with that being said, man, I want to introduce my partner. My brother Corey is in the building. What's up, good brother?
What's going on, Jim? How you feeling?
Man, I'm excited, man. I'm excited about our guest, man. He's one of the funniest guys online, man. This is the brother Anthony Agarrat from Unblocked Arteries is the name of his company. His story is amazing. He's one of the funniest follows on Facebook. He's also on IG, but this guy is hilarious. But what I like about him is within his sarcasm and the funny stuff, he mixes in a lot of gems and jewels about investing, about his business. So we definitely want to bring him on and highlight what he's doing and let him tell his story. The brother Anthony Agarrat, but everybody calls him Cosmic, so we're gonna call him Cosmic for the rest of the show. That's his nickname, and that's easier than saying his full name. But Cos, what's up, good brother? How you feeling?
Hey, how you guys doing today, man? How you doing, Jim? How you doing, Corey? I'm doing fine. Feeling pretty good today.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up, man. Listen, you have an amazing story that I want our listeners and viewers to hear. But I just want to give them a little background, and then I'll let you expound upon it. You have a company called Unblocked Arteries, which is in the CBD business. And outside of that, you are an investor. But even your story in terms of getting invested in the markets is interesting, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But I want to start with your business. I know that it's e-commerce as well as in person, but your company is called Unblocked Arteries. Now, can you tell our listeners a little bit about your background and how you got into business in the first place? Were you always looking to be a businessman as a kid? Which city are you from? Just a little bit about your background, education-wise. Tell us about that.
All right. Well, I'm out of New York, born and raised in New York.
What part?
Queens, New York.
Queens in the building.
I could be from any part. I lived in quite a few parts of New York. I've lived out of state. So, I traveled around a little bit, but I'm New York. I got into this business, CBD, because it saved my life. So it just made sense to do it. I've always sold something. I never really thought business. When I first was selling things, I didn't think business. I just thought, hey, it's extra money. I really thought 9 to 5. I worked for Amtrak for close to 20 years, from 89.
Mm-hmm.
From 89. So I've been working a long time. And when I couldn't work anymore, I started to see the downfall of just working.
Okay.
But that's when, I know I have to sell things, get around, move around. But, health problems kind of shut that down too. So whatever I was doing, health problems were shutting it down. And it was you got to move around and do that. And I ask other people to do things, and that doesn't work out. Can't have other people do things for you because it just doesn't work out. So I got into business in a very roundabout way. Same as what you said with me getting into the stock market and investing. I got into that in a very roundabout way. I had no interest in being involved in the stock market. In fact, when I got into cryptocurrency, I thought it was going to destroy everything else in my own idyllic, delusional fantasy about something coming along and destroying the banks and everything else. that's, that's holds us in place. And that's just not how it worked out. But I learned about the stock market. Then I learned about Dividend really through Sharika Burton, if you know who that
Yeah,
is.
she's actually been she's been on our show. She was on episode 2, I believe. Real quick,
2 or 3.
you made it. You said something that's interesting to me. You said I really wasn't in the business, but you like to sell. So you're a hustler. You like to sell things.
Yeah, I'm a hustler. I always sold things.
Have you ever read the book Cash Flow Quadrant?
I have not.
I think you should read that book, Cash Flow Quadrant. It talks about the different quadrants, right? So it talks about the difference between being someone that's self-employed versus owning a business. And that's just interesting.
I'm self-employed right now. I know that much.
Yeah. But there's a difference when you take that and then move to the other quadrant of actually running a business. That's a powerful move. So I just thought about that. We always talk about books on the show. And I thought about that as soon as you said that. Like, I don't run a business, but I like to sell. Like, you're a hustler. But if you could take that part and master the other part, man. But anyway, getting back to your story, you said that the CBD saved your life. Can you give us a little bit of information? Tell us that story.
Okay, well, from the age of 28, I've had heart problems. I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure at the age of 28, and I was given 4 years to live.
Wow.
And I was like, okay.
Was it hereditary or a lifestyle thing?
Nope. It's got to be lifestyle. Nobody else in my family has it. So it's just me. And I've had bigger members of my family than me, but I'm the one who won that lottery ticket. So they told me I got 4 years, and I was kind of down about that, but I was like, I don't think it's going to be just 4 years. There's no way I'm just going to be here another 4 years. And this was a while ago now. So I started, the internet was out when I was 28. It was kind of new still. The internet was still kind of new, but I was heavy on library. So I just turned everything to the internet, and YouTube was still new too. But there was a lot of things I found, YouTube helped, lengthen my life, because I found out about cayenne pepper on YouTube and what it can do to you if you took it every day. Something that I was already kind of using a little bit when I cooked. I started taking it a lot more just by itself on a daily basis. And it didn't stop. It didn't stop the procession of the disease, but it surely slowed it down. It surely gave me a lot of pockets in between when I should have been completely down and out, hooked up to ventilators and things like that. I was running around, still making kids. I have to tell you.
Were you someone who was always into like natural remedies, or this came about because of your illness?
No, this was a necessity. This was all necessity.
Okay.
Like everything I did was necessity. And then I started to change my diet. Like even when I was sick, I wasn't truly changing my diet to a healthier lifestyle. I love to eat fast food and on the run. That's how I used to work. I used to work for Amtrak. So I work 18-hour days almost every day. And like I said, I didn't know about the stock market. I was putting my money into savings bonds.
Oh.
So I put my money I'm putting like $200 to $300 a week into savings bonds.
Oh.
And it helped me buy the first house. So I had my first house at 24. And around 28, like I said, I was sick, wasn't working out. That wasn't working. And eventually it got to the point where I needed a heart transplant. But I lasted 12 years before I needed that transplant.
Okay.
When I was told I would be dead in 4.
Okay.
So that's, from 28 to 40 years old, and then I got transplanted at 41. Basically.
Okay. So that was before CBD. How did CBD come into play?
All right. Well, when the CBD was coming into play, by that point, I was suffering from rejection issues. Like I couldn't get away from heart problems. Like I got rid of the congestive heart failure when I got a transplant. I got a transplant in 2009, May 16th. And I was good for a while. But then I started having rejection issues, little stuff here and there. I'd end up in the hospital again. Like, okay, I ain't escaped the hospital. I got a new heart and I'm still in the hospital for a month at a time, 2 months at a time. It's, it's a little bit frustrating. But just last year, when I was diagnosed with 2 blocked arteries and 1 artery partially blocked, a friend of mine who was telling me about CBD for like 4 or 5 months, who was like, yo, you got to try the CBD. You got to try the CBD. So I'm like, all right, send me some CBD. Let me see how it works. And I'm telling you, I got it that night when I took it. You know, they say you're supposed to take like a half a dropper or one full dropper, and you should see some effect the next day. Well, I took about 6 full droppers on the spot. On the spot, I took it. And the next thing I realized, my chest pain disappeared. Now, I've had chest pain since the rejection started. So we're talking about maybe 6 years of chest pain every day, throughout the day, chest pain. Even when I was working out, even when I can do anything, I'm still suffering chest pain.
Yeah.
But now, you know, chest pain disappeared, and I was like, this is, I must be asleep because this chest pain is gone. So I'm probably not really here. So so a little bit more backstory. Before I took the CBD.
Well, hold on, real quick, not to cut you off, but for our listeners who may not be aware, could you explain exactly what CBD is?
CBD is a cannabinoid. It's found in hemp plants, and it's also found in the same plant marijuana that you smoke, weed, right?
Mm-hmm.
They both qualify as a cannabis. They're sister plants. Now, hemp has THC in it, but it has it to a much less degree. Whereas the cannabis that we smoke, it has a lot more THC than it has CBD. CBD and THC both have an effect on a system in our bodies called the endocannabinoid system. It was discovered in the 70s that we have another system in our bodies called the endocannabinoid system, right? And it's in all our organs. It has receptors in all of our organs: skin, liver, kidney, heart, brain, you name it. It has receptors. So when you take CBD, the body, it's almost like a signal to the body. The body doesn't actually use the CBD itself. It creates its own molecular CBD. And now that CBD travels throughout the body and resets the body to as close to homeostasis as possible. Now, a lot of people don't know what homeostasis is, but that's the state that your body achieves where, it starts to heal itself. You know, they say heal thyself.
Yeah.
Most of us don't reach that state because we're eating the wrong thing. We're in the wrong environment, or we're just too sedate to we're not active enough for our bodies to go through the healing process. So CBD, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're eating the wrong thing. It doesn't matter what you're doing, your environment, whatever. CBD kicks in this system and brings you as close to homeostasis as you allow. When I say that, there are people who use CBD, and when they stop using it, everything that was wrong returns, right? And that's because the diet hasn't changed, the lifestyle hasn't changed, nothing has changed to let their body do this on its own.
Mm-hmm.
I got all this noise in the background.
No, it's all good. So getting back to your story, so you were having rejection issues after the transplant. You said a friend of yours told you, hey, try this CBD. You said you immediately just, I don't know if you're trying to OD or what you was doing out there, good brother, but you said take one, you took 6 or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's the other the beautiful thing about CBD is there is no toxic level. So if I had taken 30 doses that day, the worst that might have happened, and it's rare, so it's not everybody, I might have had a case of diarrhea. So
yeah, that's no good too. But I get your point. But I get your point though. So moving from there, you saw immediate effects. So how did it go from, man, this is making my chest pain go away, to you literally becoming someone who spreads this message and also got into the business? How did it go from there to there?
Well, I'm always trying to spread a message. So I've always been trying to spread some message or another. If it's not solar energy, then it's just anything that makes our life easier. I try to spread the message, tell people you make the sacrifice, and on the back end, it makes life easier for all of us. So the very next morning, after, I took it at night, the very next morning, I was able to walk half a mile. Before that, just about a week earlier, my kids and me walked around the block, and I had to stop like 4 or 5 times to walk around the block, and the walk around the block was 0.3 of a mile, something like that. And I couldn't. After that, I was done for the day, back in bed. That's the end of it. No energy, anything. Good thing my children are a little bit older, at 13 and 11 at the time, so they could take care of themselves.
Yeah.
But I was pretty much dead in the water. So the day after I took the CBD, I jumped up and did half a mile, and I was like, I know I could do more, but I'm not. But the next day I did 0.8, and then the next day I was doing a mile. Within a week, I was doing a mile and a half. Within 3 weeks, I was doing 2.5 miles. Next thing I know, I'm doing 5 miles every day.
And this is no change, lifestyle change or diet. This is just taking the oil.
Nothing. I had already changed my diet. I was eating salads every day, eating more cold pressed oatmeal. There's so much I've learned, in this journey. So I was taking a mix of turmeric and ginger and onions on a daily basis. I was doing all things, but they were just slowing down the process. Because what was happening with me was the rejection issues was causing inflammation in my heart, and the inflammation was showing itself as scar tissue in my arteries. So the scar tissue would build up until it blocked the artery. So it blocked one, then it blocked the second, and it was partially blocking a third. And trust me, you ain't doing nothing when your arteries are blocked. You down for the count. And I'm counting the days, like, okay, how many more days can I last like this? Because I planned on lasting. And the hospital did have a medication they said was strong enough to unblock the arteries, but it came with a risk of messing up my kidneys. And I was like, I don't need a heart and kidney problem.
That's the medications fix one thing and mess up 10 other.
Exactly. And I'm like, I don't think I want to go through that. You know what? Maybe this was a good run. I had a good run. I just call it quits. It's gonna be kind of early, but I guess I'm gonna have to call it quits. But once I took the CBD, man, it was night and day. Another thing.
I was just gonna say it's interesting to hear your story because I've been on your Facebook page, right? In terms of for your actual brand, and I see some of the testimonials, and I'm like, man, is he paying these people? Like, so it's to me, it is
so much better than a paid testimony. It's because I've had people who were buying it for low energy and they wouldn't tell me, like, people don't tell you everything that's wrong with them.
Yeah. Right.
So one of my friends, I did know everything that was wrong with him. He had lupus and he had an infection that was growing because lupus would do that to you.
Mm-hmm.
I lost another friend to lupus through pneumonia.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yo, you should try this CBD, man. You should try it. And he tried it and he's back to work. He's a radiologist at a hospital. He's back to work.
Wow.
Everything healed up.
It's crazy, right? So the reason, like I said, I've read your testimonials, but I know people outside of you who are telling me the same things, and it just makes me wonder, right? So, I have a family friend who's like in her 70s, and she was getting up there, slowing down. She started taking CBD oil. Now she's like active, like just very active, and it's like, how'd you just like she lost 20 years of her life. She's young again. Like it's weird. So I've actually seen this, but it makes me thinking, why, like somebody had to know this was something that was beneficial for us. Right. And let me preface this by saying this, right? So I travel a lot. I speak at real estate conferences. So I was at Portland earlier this year, speaking at a conference. And interestingly about Portland is they have like dispensaries on almost every corner. Like it's crazy. So they're out there always preaching about the health benefits of marijuana, CBD oil, like all these different things. But I've been other places as well where it's like, they still believe that it's a gateway drug, or they don't believe in any of the medicinal benefits of using this, But with the testimonials that I see from your people and from people I know outside of you, I'm like, why isn't this message being spread more? Why are people still fighting it? It has to go down. It always comes back to money somehow or some way. But
first, let me see if there's anybody over my shoulder.
Yeah, I ain't trying to get us murked after this episode, but I'm just saying though.
It's all about money, and once it's about money and health, it's not just about money and health. It's about money, health, and trauma. We live in a society, and this is where I get a little preachy, but we live in a society where people are expected to deal with their trauma, right? And then still function completely in this world, dog eat dog world, where you have to then deal with what's called anxiety, and anxiety makes you sick. So once you get into a stressful situation and you stay there for any amount of time, your body starts to break down. Now, at the time, I was in a terrible marriage. I was immature in the marriage, and my wife at the time, she was miserable. She loved to fight. I wasn't a fighter, but I was immature, so I did give us some reasons to have to fight. You know what I mean? But even as we stayed married and I'd grow, I'd get a little bit more mature. I'd be like, why the hell are we still fighting? This is gone, that is gone. These the aspects of the relationship that had us fighting should have ended the fights because they were gone as I got older. That wasn't the case because I got married pretty young, 21. By the age of 27, I'm like, why are we still fighting? There's none of the stuff that you wanted me to change that I deemed I should change, and I did. It's still here. So the problem is, at this point, the problem isn't me, and that's stressful, very stressful. Yeah. But I'm not gonna go too much into that. She ain't here to tell her side. But I said, I was immature to some degree. I married a little bit too young. You're not a grown up till 25. I married at 21. That was an error when I go back and look at it. But other than that, man, the stress. This society is set up, especially us, especially as Black men and women. We're set up to be stressed upon stressed upon stressed, and we turn on each other. That's why there's so much. Black man is this, Black woman is this, Black man is this, and we don't look back 75 years, we don't look back 100 years, we don't look back 400 years to the actual reasons. We're always told we can't blame our hardships on things that happened 300 years ago, and that's a total lie. You can blame a lot of things on what happened 50 years ago, but you can really blame everything on things that happened 400 or 500 years ago. Solutions, of course, have to come from us. The problem, you can blame who you want to blame for the problem, as long as you know that the solution is not coming from the same source. It's going to have to come from us as individuals and as a group doing the exact right thing over a long period of time in order for things to get better. Everybody's looking for instant better. I did this and I did that and things didn't get better. We marched and we protested, things didn't get better. Well, of course they didn't get better. That's how it works.
So I heard like that. You said it's up to us, right?
Yeah, it's up to us.
Yeah.
Like I could blame white people for everything, and you could not really dispute it because I'll come with the facts. But when it comes to fixing the problem, it's all us.
Yeah, all the solutions come from us, no matter where the problems come from.
We have to understand that they will fight us. They will try to trick us. They will put people in our way of all colors to keep us from coming up with these solutions with massive distractions. All the distractions that happen.
Do for self and build your own tables. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Right. Man, great points right there. I don't know how we got to that, but that's amazing points right there. But
three brothers talking. We're gonna.
We get all over the place. But no. So now you have your business, Unblocked Arteries. The name of your brand speaks for itself. So the results of you getting on this regimen, taking this, giving you more energy. How is your health now?
Man, let me tell you, it's okay. So my health improved every month without fail. Every month my health failed. Within 5 days of taking it, the first blood pressure taking at the hospital was 102/71, which was blood pressure I probably haven't had since I was 12 years old or something like that.
Another question.
Yeah.
Throughout this process, obviously you're going to doctors because you've had heart surgery, right? So
yes.
Before you took this, did you even consult your doctor, or you just I'm going for it? All right, so I'm pretty sure you told him after the fact that, hey, this is what I'm doing.
Nope, I still haven't told him. I don't want to hear nothing from him.
Still to this day, you haven't?
To this day, I have not told him.
Oh, interesting. Is he asking you why your blood and all your other stuff is looking better? Or is he probably taking credit for it?
Hey, let him take credit for now. And eventually I will tell them, you know, when I approach them to possibly be a distributor for the product to see what happens on that side.
Got you. Got you.
In the meantime, I'm my own walking, talking guinea pig of sort.
Got
But
you.
as you said earlier, I've given this to people and they told me that it got rid of their fibromyalgia. And I was like, fibromyalgia? I heard of that before. What is that? Looked it up. And it's something that's extremely pervasive amongst Black women, you know, fibromyalgia. And I was like, what do you mean by it helped you? They said, well, my pain is gone. My energy is back. And I'm back in the gym. That's just one person with fibromyalgia.
What's the one testimonial that someone gave you where it just like blew you away? Maybe it's that. Maybe it's something outside of that where you was like, wow.
There was one guy, I'm trying to get more information from him because he wasn't a direct customer. You know, I have an affiliate program, which I haven't really talked about before because I'm trying to keep it on the low and try to keep my name out of the affiliate program, let people do their own thing. But one of my affiliates sold this guy some CBD. And then she got back to me and told me that he had ulcerative colitis. He had bowel problems that were just severe. Like she told me he was going to the bathroom 3 times a month. And I was like, you're joking, right? 3 times a month? You mean 3 times a week, right? You mean 3 times a week? She was like, no, 3 times a month. He suffered severe pain on a daily basis.
Sheesh.
On a daily basis, he didn't go out much because of how debilitating. It could strike out of nowhere and he'd just be done. He'd just be done. He can't move, he can't do anything. No matter where he was, he just had to stand or sit where he was for the next half an hour until the pain passed enough for him to go about his business. And the doctors, he went through a surgery. I forgot exactly what surgery he went on his intestines, and it didn't help as much as they expected it to. So he started taking the CBD and he noticed that he was able to sleep. He woke up the next day with some pain, but he was able to get 8 hours of sleep and his mind felt clearer. That was my result too. When I woke up the next day, my mind felt clearer. My sleep was incredible. And I hear that a lot from a lot of my customers that first night of sleep, that's one of the things it takes care of is insomnia. It seems to just walk in the door and slap insomnia around and put you to sleep right away if you suffer from that. So his bowel movements went from 3 times a month to like 3 times a week. And I was like, well, okay, if it went from 3 times a month to 3 times a week, he wasn't lying about the 3 times a month. Now it's every day. I'm trying to get in touch with him through the affiliate to get I sent her about 20 questions.
Yeah.
That I wanted him to answer so I can gauge better how he's doing. But his life turned around. His life was like my life. It turned around. It turned around in just a couple of weeks. Now I don't know how he's doing now. He did buy like 3 bottles about 2 months ago, so he's probably nowhere near done with those 3 bottles because he wasn't taking them out. And that's the other thing. I've looked at a whole lot of clinical studies, clinical, guides say that you usually need about 1 gram of this stuff a day to see miraculous turns around. Now, most people can't afford 1 gram of this stuff because even me, I sell my bottle anywhere between 65 and 75. But that's what it is. 1 bottle is 1 gram. So I can't even afford to take 1 gram of this stuff on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
That's
expensive.
That's $70 a day. You gotta be doing something big to spend $70 a day on just one thing in your life. And but what I've discovered is 15 milligrams, 33 milligrams, 100 milligrams a day can have a monster effect also. Not on everyone, but on most people. But that had to be the most severe turnaround besides my own.
Now, I don't have no calculator in front of me, and I'm not gonna pretend to know how to break that down right now. I don't want to give out no Foxy Brown math. But if you do 33 per day, how long will a bottle last?
33 milligrams per day, a bottle will last about a month.
Okay. So 60, 70 bucks a month is not bad then, especially for the results you're talking.
And another beautiful thing is if it starts to turn your problem around and your problem is not chronic as some others, you can start to lower that. So 1 bottle can actually last 2 months, which I shouldn't tell people that. because, you know, I don't make as much money if they use it all over 2 months. I have,
So real quick, so your company's called Unblocked Arteries. So is that where you stand now? Are yours completely unblocked, or what's going on with you?
yeah, my arteries are unblocked. And let me tell you how me and the doctors discovered that my heart was better. I had an incident. I think it was April 11th or so. I had an incident where I was walking. I was usually doing, at this point, I'm doing 6 to 7 miles a day walk, fast paced walk. And I'm walking, and I reached about 3.5 miles, and all of a sudden I felt awful. I felt terrible. Like, oh shit, like, am I about to die terrible?
Okay.
I sat down at the bus stop for a minute, regained myself, and I had to call a cab to go home. Like, you know what? I'm not walking this back.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. So I called a cab. They came, they picked me up. I got home. I felt better, drank some water, made some breakfast. I had just finished eating breakfast when I realized I'm feeling bad again. I'm like, I'm really feeling bad. And my mother walks by and says, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not okay. I'm not okay at all." He's like, "All right, I'll be in my bedroom." And I was like, "No. No need for you to do that. Call the EMS right now." And I passed out. Like, I knew something wasn't right. So I was like, "Call EMS." And then I passed out. And I could hear her, of course, panicking.
Mm-hmm.
Call the EMS. When they get there, I can't even really respond to them yet. I can't open my mouth for some reason. I can't open my eyes. I'm weak. And they take my blood pressure, and it's 90/54.
Oh, you went low.
Yeah.
The thing is, I'm taking my CBD. At the same time, I'm taking my blood pressure meds. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Taking my blood pressure meds. Taking steroids. Take steroids every day until recently also. So when I get to the hospital, they're, "Oh, we think you might have had a miniature heart attack." I'm like, "Really? Why do I feel so good again now that I'm in the hospital? Well, how I feel so good? You run tests, you haven't seen anything to show that my heart has been damaged." So they were ready to let me go. I went into the hospital on a Wednesday. They were ready to let me go on a Friday, which I found kind of peculiar. I have to tell somebody they had some sort of heart attack. I'm like, "Well, I'm not going nowhere. You're gonna run all your tests this week, come in, and you're gonna tell me what's going on." So luckily I had some tests the very next day, and they did something called a stress test. A stress test is designed to see how well your heart's working and to see if there's any areas of your heart that are necrotic, meaning some parts of your heart can actually be dead after a heart attack. You could have, dead tissue.
Okay.
And what they found was, and I was expecting maybe to find some damage myself. I wasn't expecting to find what they found, which was a 100% viable heart, even with the blocked arteries. What they also discovered was the arteries themselves had become more, what's the word? I keep forgetting the word, and I use it all the time. It's another word for pliable, where when your artery is dead and your heart is dying, it becomes brittle. It actually can become hard in places, where my heart got back all of its elasticity. That's what it was. My arteries regained their elasticity. So with that return, they asked me, they said, "Well, your heart's 100% viable. There's no dead tissue whatsoever. And we can put stents in those arteries. Now we can actually clear the scar tissue. Plus, one of my arteries had return of 4% blood flow, which is like a trickle suddenly breaking through a dam, like a trickle's breaking through." So in my mind, and I could be wrong because I'm not a doctor, in my mind, that trickle was going to become a flood eventually, because it wasn't going to change on its own. It was a CBD. Also, my heart before was considered red, which is a funny thing to call a heart. Red means it's inflamed. Red means it's inflamed. You think red would mean healthy, but red means inflamed, whereas now there was no inflammation. So to this day, I still have rejection issues. But all of the things that come with rejection issues, they're not happening. And my heart is actually getting healthier even while the rejection issues are ongoing, which to me is basically miraculous. Because I could have taken this thing that would have destroyed my kidneys most likely. And in fact, when I read up on CBD, it can bring you out of kidney failure. So if you have kidney failure and you take enough CBD, it'll bring you out of it, which to me is another tremendous
Yeah,
benefit.
that's crazy. That's an amazing story, man. Getting to the business side of it. So you got into the business of selling, and you have clients, you have an affiliate program, you have you have an e-commerce business, and you also sell like, hand to hand. I don't want to say you sell,
No, I call it hand to hand because that's what it feels like. If somebody got to, if somebody got to come to if somebody got to come to your house to pick something up, or you got to go to their house to give it to them, or you meet them in the street. If I'm somewhere in the street and one of my boys is like, yo, you got that CBD on you? I'm like, yeah, but I shouldn't. And I'll tell them I shouldn't have to have it on me. You should pay me online, and I'll have it right to your doorstep within 2 days because we use priority shipping.
Got
So
you.
the latest it comes is 3 days, but usually within 2 days you had a product.
Well, let me ask you a question, right? Because we talked earlier about how everyone hasn't completely bought in to the benefits of CBD or marijuana use or anything like that. Have you had any sort of, backlash on the e-commerce side or
Yes,
on the personal side in terms of what your product is in the business that you're running?
I've had lots of conflict. On the possible customer side of things, a lot of the feedback is, I'm not trying to get high. Don't matter how many times I tell somebody this cannot get you high. There's no chance. Other people are afraid they're going to fail a drug test at work. That's a legitimate fear. But I tell people all the same time, there's no THC in my product. My product is not full spectrum hemp. Full spectrum hemp means it has the terpenes in it. It has some level of THC, very little. CBD1, CBD2, like there's a bunch of CBD molecules. My product is CBD1. CBD1 isolated, filtered out of everything else using a sand and pressure technique, so there's no alcohol involved, and suspended in MCT. A lot of people don't know what MCT is either. MCT is a medium chain triglyceride found in coconut oil.
Okay.
So it's the substance in coconut oil that prevents weight gain. It suppresses appetite. It feeds the brain directly. MCT oil breaks the blood-brain barrier and goes right to the brain, and the brain uses it as a ketone. So if you're taking MCT by itself, there isn't enough MCT in a bottle of CBD isolate and unblocked arteries to make a difference, really. But if you bought MCT on the outside just by itself, and you took a teaspoon of it a day, and you gradually reach tablespoon a day, the MCT will turn back diabetes. It will keep your body from holding as much fat as it does, and it will not in no case turn into fat in your body. It's secreted out. So if you take too much, you're gonna have problems.
Got you.
You're gonna have underwear problems if you take too much of the stuff. It doesn't absorb in the body, but it does a lot of good for the body, and the brain uses it.
So that's from the consumer standpoint. I'm talking about like maybe from the business standpoint, because I know like some websites might be opposed to you using their platform to, because everybody associates, as soon as you say CBD, they associate it with basically you selling marijuana. Let's be frank about it.
Yeah, that's how a lot of people look at it, and I tell them, first of all, CBD1 is completely legal, which is where things get weird. CBD by itself, no THC added to it whatsoever, is legal. Hemp oil, even with what they call, 0.03% of THC, is considered legal everywhere. But don't tell that to the banks, and don't tell that to like these payment services. Right now, I'm having a problem because Square and Stripe, neither one will take me as I can't use either one as a payment provider.
Wow.
So my payment online virtually is shut down at the moment. I'm scrambling to find some other way.
Mm.
to service people. Now there are payment services that will take
So
you like a
when they
CBD.
shut you down, what kind of logic or what kind of notice did they tell you or
They
give you
don't
rather?
give you any logic. Stripe told me they don't support CBD products.
Okay.
They didn't tell me why. They didn't say because it's illegal. That's the words I'm looking for. Well, we can't support that because you're selling cocaine, and you know cocaine's not legal, so we can't take payments for cocaine. But this is legal substance.
Okay.
So to me, it's politics. There's a lot of politics in this. You know, CBD, basically hemp has only been legal, I think it's since the 70s, and we're just getting acclimated to the fact it's legal now.
Yeah.
And at one point, you remember the stories about people getting it in other states with a little bit of THC in it, and it turning around seizures.
Yeah. Like I said, I've
Now,
heard so many stories about it, which is interesting because people still associate it with you basically selling marijuana. So I know it will be some sort of backlash on that front, right? So I talked to when I was in Portland again, talking to people that run dispensaries, and some were saying that the banks won't allow them to put money there because of what their business is, which has created a whole new industry in terms of people providing security and such for people who run a marijuana business.
indeed,
So it's like it's created its own little industry. But yours is interesting to me because it's not marijuana.
it's not. It's not even the same plant. And you know, it's interesting why hemp was outlawed in the first place was for trees, because I forgot his name. An individual who owned a lot of lumber didn't like the fact that hemp created a superior paper, a superior building material. You can make clothes out of it, and you can eat it. That's not something you want as competition. And back in those days, in the 1910s and 1900s, you could get something outlawed pretty easily if you had enough clout and enough money.
You can do it now.
Same thing. It's not as easy. The internet is kind of in the way. The only reason I can sell CBD is because of the internet. I mean, I have to give credit to the billions of voices at once asking people why is that illegal.
Listen, man,
Sell it.
in the movie Rush Hour 2, Chris Tucker is talking to Jackie Chan. He says, listen, you want to get to the bottom of why anything exists or why things are the way they are, go find a white guy with money, and it all traces back to him. So interesting, man. Something else that I find interesting about your story. So you have this business, right? You got into the cryptocurrency space. Now, this is what's interesting to me, that right now, as I follow your journey online and seeing you're building your business out, you're an investor as well. And you talk a lot about dividend stocks, which is one of my favorite topics. I absolutely love dividend stocks. That's probably my
favorite subject.
Yeah. And people associate me with real estate because real estate has literally paid my bills since I was 18. But I'm actually probably more of a fan of dividend stocks, and that's for various reasons. So I combine the two personally. But I see you talk about dividend stocks. But when I ask you about dividend stocks, you actually told me that you learned the stock market, but your introduction came via cryptocurrency, right? Everybody can have their opinion about cryptocurrency one way or another. It is what it is. Like I don't get mad at people for having a different opinion than I do. And I don't argue people about their opinions. Listen, just be happy. But what I find interesting is no one ever talks about this. When cryptocurrency hit over the last several years, and it was a mania, the bubble, whatever you want to call it, the one thing that it did do on a positive note is it brought people into the investment space. I see a lot of people now talking about investing in stocks or real estate or whatever it may be, and they weren't even thinking about investing until cryptocurrency.
That's very true. I got into cryptocurrency at the very end of 2016. I had a friend who always talked about it. Remember I told you I had a friend who had lupus and passed away. It was the same friend.
Yeah.
So I made my first purchase of Bitcoin at the very end of 2016, very end, when it was $870, if I'm correct at that time. It was $870. And I started buying into it. Not as much as I should have, and not as much as I could have. So I got into it then, and I started to understand how Bitcoin works. But when I first got into Bitcoin, I had this delusion that Bitcoin would come along and destroy the banks instantly. Like, oh, once everybody else finds out about this, that's it for the banks. It's over. You're going to see everybody transfer all that money out the bank. Like I said, delusional, forgetting what kind of people I'm dealing with.
Listen, as Corey always tells me, you can't. The COBOL's going to always win. They're going to do what they got to do to fight. It's hard to take on the COBOL, and that's the banks. But all right, so you came into the space basically like on a rebel tip. Like you saw the value in that. Okay, how did it transfer from you being a crypto guy to then wanting to learn about the stock market and understanding dividend investing?
Well, I started a group called Crypto Culture. I don't even know if I added you guys to it, but
I'm in it. I'm in the group.
All right. I just sent Jim an invite, so Jim is now in the group too. I started a group called Crypto Culture because I wanted to educate. I always want people to learn something, and I don't mind sharing things that might not benefit me to share it with you right then.
Mm-hmm.
But if we all know it, then we all benefit from it, right? And I started a group called Crypto Culture, and I just invited a whole bunch of my friends. At first, a lot of my friends were upset that I added them to a Bitcoin group, right?
Uh-huh.
I was like, it's Bitcoin, but I was telling them, well, I invited you. What's the worst that can happen? You can leave. If you don't like it, you can always just leave group and don't take it any which kind of way, but I'm trying to build membership.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to get on the phone with friends. I'd be on the phone night after night. We'd be talking about Ether. We'd be talking about Bitcoin. And I was like, how does this stuff, I need to really know how this stuff works. So I went deep diving, looking for everything I could find, and ran across one of the big dudes. His last name is Greek. I can't remember it now. But I ran into some of the bigger people in cryptocurrency, and I started to understand the technical background of it, where it came from technically, and what it does, and why they can't shut it down. It's a monster. It's a monster on the loose. It's like it's Godzilla, but it's baby Godzilla right now. People don't understand it, so it's still small. But when I understood how cryptocurrency worked, I started to look at all these different altcoins, and I started to get in them. Fortunately for me, getting into cryptocurrency at the very beginning of 2017, when it was going through its bull run, was far more beneficial than learning about it, say, in 2018, when it started to go through its bear run.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have been somewhat discouraged. But I did pretty well in 2017. I could have, like I said, done a lot better, but I wasn't mature enough to do as good as I should. I wasn't mature enough at the time. Plus, I've been suffering with the rejection issues for a moment. And what I've come to find out is when you're suffering from rejection, eventually it starts to affect your mind, how fast you can think, how much you can focus. I found myself sleeping a lot more. Found myself sleeping most of the day. Sleep. I need to sleep again. I'm tired. Anything I did had to go back to sleep after. So, I was losing a lot of time when I could have been awake to make deals, awake to do things, losing time. So then I was hearing talk about, the banks coming in and bringing Bitcoin back down to zero. And I was like, that's not possible. They can't do that. But I had, at this time, I'd acquired a mentor. I'd already acquired a mentor who was telling me that, oh, no, they could do it. And I'll explain how. And if you can explain it to me, if you can explain it, and then I can go and research it on my own, I have to accept it. I was like, so this is bigger than I thought. This is a lot bigger than I thought. And in the meantime, Sharika Burton is in the background on my page. I made this much. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And I'm so crypto. I wasn't completely listening to her. But the thing was, she never stopped talking.
I don't think she ever will.
She didn't stop talking. And I'm not going to ignore you, but for so long, if you're doing one thing and I see what I'm doing was kind of working, but not working as much. And so, I asked her, what's this more? Tell me more about it. And, she was telling me about the Abacus and, it's all black group. And I was like, oh, well, that's plus 1, 2, and 3 pluses right there. That's like 3 things checked off. I like that. And she was telling me it was about the stock market. And I was listening and started to understand that, oh, so I'm participating in the stock market, whether I'm in it or not. I'm part of it. I'm a consumer, but I'm not an investor. And since cryptocurrency and introduced me to the world of investing, because at first, when I first got into it, the fascination was just some new form of currency. To me, that was fascinating, and to be on the leading edge of it is a beautiful thing. But then I realized I didn't know enough about investing. I didn't know enough about reading charts. I didn't know enough about any of these things to really put the knowledge I had to best use. So I joined the Abacus. Sharika talked me into it. I joined the Abacus and got the phases, and was like, incredible. I didn't know 2% of what I learned in phase one, and there's 4 phases. So by the time I went through the 4th phase, I knew enough to know I could make something happen right now. Now, I've been concentrating on the CBD because, basically it saved my life. It's kind of hard not to concentrate on what saved your life.
Yeah.
But, I also started another group called Each One M1 because of M1, the app.
Mhm.
I thought it just made it easier. For people to get in, because now you don't have to worry about buying complete. You don't have to worry about buying whole shares that can cost $50 or $180. So you can start off with 100 and you own pieces. And
So
with dividends, how long that if you do something for 40, 50 years, it's going to start paying bills, or if not your bills, your children's bills, or your grandchildren's bills, or your great-great-grandchildren's bill. And it
no,
can
absolutely. Listen, dividend stocks to me, and it's one of my passions. I talk about it daily on IG and all over everywhere, because I had what I like to call the financial matrix moment, and it sounds like you had that too. And what the financial matrix moment is when you start to see the world different based upon understanding the markets. You start to understand the markets, and you start looking around, and you realize how many companies own other companies. You mentioned one thing which is interesting, is how you participate, whether you want to or not. You're participating in the system, right? So when I first got started, someone was educating me on the markets. Again, this goes back to when I first got into real estate. I'm a teenager, and I'm learning about investing in the market as well as real estate. And the first 2 companies I purchased, and this is not investment advice, and you will see the disclaimer, but I'm just being transparent. I didn't know anything about the market, but this goes to show you the power of branding, right? And shout out to our brother David. He would tell me that it's the dark persuasion right here. But I recognize
Diamond
the
Dave, no.
Diamond Dave. Shout out to him. I recognize the logo. I was like, all right, so I want to invest in the market. What do I put my money in? Oh, big logo, McDonald's. I see them everywhere in the city, in Coca-Cola, right? And I tell people all the time, out of all the buildings I own and have owned, the best real estate investment I probably ever made was buying McDonald's back in the 90s. Because I've literally been getting a check 4 times a year from McDonald's for over 20 years. Like,
That's big.
And people don't understand that. I'm like, literally, like, they send me a check every quarter, and they have so, people don't have jobs that pay them that often. Like, so what I tell people all the time with dividend stocks is, you start to add companies on, you start getting checks. Now, when you first start, it may look small or whatever, but those things grow over time to the point where your dividend checks can pay your bills. To the point where, let's just say you buy 20 companies and all of them pay quarterly. You're talking about getting 80 checks a year.
Exactly.
Most people get paid once a month or twice a month or every 2 weeks, which is 26 checks. You can add checks just by buying a company that's a solid company, a blue chip company. I don't get into. I probably have the most boring portfolio because I have a bunch of stuff that just constantly pays me.
My portfolio is pretty much boring. Messing with Lance, I got into the marijuana stock. So my portfolio, I have a few different portfolios.
Okay, so you got a little sexy. I'm talking about, like, most people these days want the sexy stuff. They want the tech stuff, and I'm
Man,
listen.
I got 2 tech companies in my whole portfolio.
I'm like consumer defensive, but we'll get into that in a minute. Let's get back to the brother, because I think this is interesting. I think the story of coming in crypto, more or less a rebel, not even from the investment standpoint, just it being a new currency and that being of interest to you. And then somehow that led you to be like a dividend investor advocate, because, man, you be going in about them dividends.
Yeah.
With the Abacus, before we get back to that, you're talking about 3 people who've been through the Abacus training.
Mm-hmm.
Me, you, Jimmy, and cosmic. You know what I mean? So that 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 perspective that a Bacchus training gives you, it will change your worldview and your purview. You know, like you were saying, that matrix moment when you know that the market is part of everything that you're doing. No matter, you know, like when we go out into the streets and we talk about that with our clientele, we tell them no matter what you do, you're participating in the market. When you get
You're a
up in the market,
consumer. Do you want to be an investor? Do you want to set your kids up on the other side
do you
of everything? Or do
100
you
years
want
from now, do you want to be winning? Period.
Exactly. And when I tell people 100 years and they tell me they ain't going to be here, I'm like, well, you don't really care about your kids and your grandkids as much as you think you do. You're programmed in such a way that you are a detriment at this point because you're not building something that, regardless of whether you're alive or dead, is going to keep paying out.
Man,
And
you know,
if you teach those children right, if you teach them right, man, it's going to keep paying, and they're going to find new companies. They're going to find companies that have now been maybe in existence 30 years that are now paying dividends, and they're solid companies, and they can add it to their own portfolio. And from there, you can build a truly wealthy family base that can't really be touched by anything. And then you can go out there and fight racism a little bit more effectively. You can fight poverty more effectively because at the end of the day, you are not going to be back in poverty if you help people. You're not going to struggle no matter what you do. And to me, that's very important going forward. You know, it's very important.
yeah, because I see your post talking about the future, but you know what's funny? Just in this having this conversation, some people will straight out tell you like, I ain't worried about them. I ain't gonna be here, and those are selfish people. But some people,
I've had people tell me, my thing is, I've had people tell me, but luckily I'm sitting down with them. They tell me this. I've had people tell me, well, I've had to struggle, so they should have to struggle too, and it builds character. Sometimes I'm terrible, and I'm like, well, my character is better than yours, and you're struggling. That don't make no sense to me.
yo, listen, man, we've had this conversation with people in the past. Sometimes, and shout to brother Carl Tone. I had a conversation with him. I asked him, and I'm gonna ask you the same question, and I guess I already know your answer based upon what you just said. I feel like sometimes our people fall in love with the struggle. They literally want to struggle, right? I've talked to people who consider themselves quote unquote revolutionaries, right? And like, you know, they get mad at me for always talking about capitalism. And I'm like, yes, and you know, you don't have to. You could be woke, but you don't have to be broke. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't gotta be broke to be woke, man. Like, you don't have to fall in love with the struggle, man. And there's nothing wrong with teaching your people how to prosper, right? Because the thing about investing is not just about money. Ownership is a certain level of control, and I'm talking about ownership of everything, right? So,
Yeah.
for those who don't know, me and my brother Corey wrote a book, Own Your Time and Space. You can get that at ownyourtimeandspace.com. We'll have that in the description. But one of the things me and Corey talk about in Own Your Time and Space, he writes about time, I write about space, is that when you start talking about economic freedom, it's about giving yourself time. Everything is measured in time. Exactly. And the concept of space is the power you get from controlling the space around you, whether that be land, because there's power in land in itself. So a lot of times I see people, you know, you have these people on the internet, right? You have these people who are pro stock people and the people who are pro real estate people. And I laugh all the time as they go back and forth in terms of what's the better investment. And the reason I say that is because they both work, right?
Yeah, my long-term goal is kind of my long-term goal. When I say long-term, I'm saying the next 5 years. Within the next 5 years, I want to be able to buy a house every 2.5 to 3 months. This product, the one thing I'll tell you, let me tell you something about this product that I love.
Mm-hmm.
I love that people are confused right now because I'm not getting into a market. I'm not coming into a market where it's established. It's not McDonald's. It's not like I'm introducing McDonald's and people are like, I don't want to eat no cheeseburgers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not eating no cheeseburgers every other day. I'm not doing that. McDonald's already set up. You can't come in and I can't come in and become Agarrats and expect to see the same money as McDonald's because they're already there. So the same thing with Bitcoin, same thing with cryptocurrency. The confusion around it gets me about 2 to 3 new customers a week, right? And as that goes on, as I get new customers, the new customers become the disciples. The new customers who are now feeling great, things have changed. Their blood pressure has dropped too. I have people with blood pressure meds, not just me, who are off their blood pressure meds. I get people that call me and thank me like I'm Jesus or something. And it's just a substance that our body used to have in it all the time, say 100, 200 years ago, that we're now just getting back to using, all of us are getting back to using. So it feels different. Now, my real estate plans is to buy a house, fix it up, and rent it out right here in New York, right here in Queens, for anywhere between $500 and $600 a month, whole family, 2 people, everything. With a rent for a house is usually around $2,000.
Okay, so your plan is more on a philanthropic tip as opposed to the economic tip.
Well, I'll still make money if I pay for the house up front, renovate the house before anybody moves into it, have everything as new as possible, washer, dryer, everything, and then charge $600 a month. But the mortgage itself would be like $75, $100 a month, because you got to have a mortgage to keep your house safe. But I'll have a $100 a month mortgage, and then collect $500 a month from a family that's a lot younger than me, so that they can.
Hold on. I'm just thinking about this, man. How are you going to get a property in New York City, in Queens, with a 75? You're talking about putting the lump sum of the capital up front.
Everything.
Okay.
And the way this business is moving, like I said, I'm starting to see on Sundays I'll see 4 sales, some days I'll see 5. But I figure within the next year, I'll be seeing 35 to 45.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, so still, with that being said, your objective in on the real estate side really isn't to make money, because it can't be. Because the thing about real estate is this: the worst way to invest in real estate, this is my personal opinion, because some people may disagree with this, is to invest for appreciation. Appreciation is just a benefit. The best way to invest in real estate is cash flow.
Yeah, appreciation is like having a stock that don't have a dividend.
Yeah. So for me, it's about the cash flow. So you're not looking for that cash flow.
I'm not looking for a major cash flow, because another part of my plan within the next 6 months, when I finally get this CBD rocking like I want to, and there's days where I might see 300 sales in one day.
You trying to set up the Carter, man? You sound like Nino right now, man. Is that what your real estate plan is? You trying to?
Well, the thing is, when I get my CBD product. By the way, here's a bottle of my product, Unblocked Arteries. Let me see if I can get it right. Right.
Okay.
When I see days where I make sales within the hundreds of bottles. When I make sales within the hundreds of bottles, I do have the Agarrat also.
Yeah.
I'll fall back from having to push the product as much, because it'll be moving itself. At some point, it's going downhill now. Right now it's going downhill, but it's not flying. I'm not hanging on to some reins and like, whoa, this is 300 miles an hour downhill.
Yeah.
But I know that I can refocus on the Agarrat, become better at options, and take what money I'm making from CBD and now put it into options, while of course I'm still funding my portfolio. That's actually a 75-year plan. I don't plan to be here for it. Yeah. I talk to my kids about it, and I educate my kids so they can continue that. I don't plan to be here for the portfolio part, but for the making money through options, I plan on being here. And I know that soon enough I'll be making $30,000 to $40,000 a week in options.
All right,
now
so
$40,000 a week, plus this would be making me somewhere in the range of $1,000 a day. Every 3.5 to 4 months, I can buy a house. Got you. It's not like you said. It's more philanthropic than anything, because I'm Afrocentric to the core.
Got you.
But I'm not red, black, and green Afrocentric, as you could tell. I got a pink shirt on. I'm not really into.
No, I just wanted to make sure I was understanding what you were saying. Because the investor me start clicking off, and I start doing numbers. I'm like, I don't know how he gonna make this happen. But no, I get your point now.
I already made a mental note in my head to make sure to talk to you and.
Listen, I got you, man. But it's interesting because I thought of another book as you were talking about people spreading the word of your business. There's a book. It's called Raving Fans. It's by a guy named Kenneth Blanchard. It was about having customers do your marketing for you. I think that's a pretty good book. Just want to mention that as you say that. That's an example of how Chick-fil-A, they use customer service to have people go out and do their bidding for them, right? Your product is actually healing people to make them go out and do your bidding for them. So that's pretty interesting right there. But yeah, so what I was saying, just getting back to the investment piece, people love me talk about strictly investment piece, investing on here. The key to me to mastering it. So you talked about a couple different revenue streams in terms of options, in terms of your dividend stocks, in terms of your actual business.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. So that's kind of how I see real estate, right? So I see people who argue the whole real estate stock thing, and I'm sitting there thinking like the actual hack is to have cash flowing properties buy your stock for you, right? So as someone who loves as someone who loves dividend investing, right? And this is a piece of game for you people out there who've made it this far in this episode. I'm gonna give you some valuable game right now. Here's what the valuable gem is. You buy cash flowing property, right? It'll cash flow whether you're cash flowing $500 or $1,000. What you do is, as you build out, you go from your potential gross income to get to your NOI. And for those who don't even know what that means, you need to take one of those courses at the Black Real Estate School where I break down how to get to your NOI. But anyway, when you do that and you calculate your expenses, you put in an expense for property management. Now, if you're self-managing like I am, doesn't matter how many properties you have in your portfolio, you charge, say, 10%. That comes to you. But what you actually do is you get 10% of all your rent from every property you have, and that buys your stock for you. If you ever wanted to stop that and hire a property manager, you're already charging it in your numbers anyway, so it's not really going to affect your budget. But as long as you're able to self-manage, your properties will buy your stock for you. So now me, as I go out there and I have multiple streams of income from me being an agent selling property, from me having my own dividend stock, from me being a published author of 2 books, by the way, for those who don't know, Sports the Book, sportsthebook.com, and On Your Time and Space. But anyway, all these different hustles allow me to take that income, dump the income into dividends, and then the dividends dump the income back out, right? That's the hack. The hack is to use real estate to buy your stock, not to sit and argue back and forth about which one is better. You do both. You absolutely do both. So instead of me sitting here and just like plowing away money to buy stock, I have myself. I got this building over here. I got this multi-unit building. You start getting all these buildings and you start counting doors, and they're literally fighting with you. You know what I mean? So I just want to put that out there.
The money becomes soldiers.
That's the game. Listen, I tell people all the time, I have tons of employees, man. They're all old white men, right? They name Franklin, they name, they name Lincoln. They're all out there fighting for me, man. So that's how you structure things up when you get into the investing side. But Kaz, man, getting back to you and what you've been able to do, man. First off, I just want to say, man, your story is amazing in terms of finding a product that you stand behind and now have created a business, one that saved your life. And I also think the part of you investing, coming into it as a rebel, but now you transition to being about your dividend stocks. I think that's an amazing story, man. So you said in the future you want to get to the point where you can do some philanthropic investing in terms of helping people with housing, but you want to get into the options game. Have you started to trade options yet, or that's just something
I've traded options and I did okay.
Okay.
But I realized that your focus has to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And my focus wasn't there because I found the CBD about the same time as I got into the Agarrat.
Okay.
And slowly but surely, like as you said, my customers become affiliates. I don't get strangers as affiliates. I get people who already use the product. And I say, hey, you want to be an affiliate? I'll give you a commission. And my commission also is very good. So for what you have to do, my commission is fantastic. So anybody who takes it seriously and really spreads the message, they start to see money. Now, like everything, you sign people up, they say they want to be an affiliate, and then they don't really do it, because then they realize that you actually got to start talking like John the Baptist out here. You got to be out there looking a little. You got to be out there looking a little insane at times. Like, well, that's what you talk about. All you talk about is this, or that's all you talk about. That's not all I talk about, but I talk about it almost on a daily basis. Take my blood pressure on a daily basis, sometimes twice a day, so people can see I'm not making it up.
Yeah.
When I'm in the hospital, I was taking pictures. When the machine would take my blood pressure, I take pictures, and it would be 95 95 over 68, and there it is. Hospital. The hospital is backing me up. And since I've had this problem for so long, when I do tell the hospital, there's nothing they could say. There's really nothing they could do. I use them as the proof. That's why I didn't tell them anything, because I didn't want them to change anything.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want them to know what I was doing and then do something that might counter affect it just out of bias. You never know what kind of bias you face. So I haven't told them.
I got you. So you know, I think that cash flow quadrant will be a good book for you as you build out your business, because you've kind of done this just on a hustle. You're a hustler, and I say that, you know, that's admirable, right? Because that's one thing you can't really, you know, you're born with.
If you give people a good price, if you give people a good price, and you have character, and you don't try to be slick, you don't try to sell somebody something that you're not selling, you don't try to lessen the amount you put of your product into or something. You don't sleep on delivery, because delivery is huge. That's why, you know, we do priority. We want to make sure we have the tracking. I don't want nothing to take 2 weeks to get to anybody, and we don't know where it is exactly.
It's customer service. It's customer service. But I was saying though, like you make a couple tweaks and turn this into like a business as opposed to being self-employed, man. You can go far with this because of your raving fans.
Well, I mean, that's what the affiliate program is basically, because with the affiliate program, at some point he won't be spending his time selling it, the product.
Yeah, but implementing a more systematic approach, man. And I'm pretty sure people, you know, Brother David will be able to help you with that. Like, you know, but anyway, man. Your story.
The Mario Daily designed my website. He even wants.
Okay, all right.
Unblocked.com. So
we talked to Mario.
Mario was on here as well. So salute to Mario, man, because
it's an Abacus thing, bro. It's an Abacus family. I find people within.
Yeah, he's the e-commerce king. But listen, man, thank you for your time, man. You know, I want to wish you success in the future, man. But before we get you out of here, man, give me a book recommendation, a favorite book that you may have read that helped you along the way, whether it's health wise or whether it's business wise, because you know you have both of those stories within your story.
A book recently. It had to be a recent book, because that's another thing I tell you. In the past, I had a stroke, so most of the books that I read, I don't remember. I remember the big ones. The Richest Man in Babylon. I read that maybe about 80 times.
George Clason.
Remember it exactly. I still remember it because even though it was pre-stroke, I still remember that one, because that one taught me, you know, if you do something and you service people, the story about the guy who didn't know how to bake anything and he became a big-time baker and was making all this money in his kingdom, or should I say in the kingdom he lived in. He became this well-known baker because he just was consistent. And I've learned, if you can be consistent, if all you are is consistent, that'll get everything rolling in the right direction eventually. But the most recent book I would have to say is The Internet of Money. I can't remember the dude's name. It's Antonin Apakos or something like that. But The Internet of Money.
I read that book actually.
And that's a good book to get. That's a good book as far as currency goes.
Yeah, that is a good book. Because he actually breaks down, currency, but talks about Bitcoin in a different way, not necessarily just strictly from an investment standpoint.
Exactly.
His name was Andreas Antonopoulos. That guy. Exactly. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's called The Internet of Money.
Andreas. His first name is Andreas.
Yeah. I read that book though. I did read that book. So
I call him the other Greek freak. He's just the other Greek freak.
Because as a matter of fact, isn't he the guy who was who had all the knowledge but wasn't buying like really a lot of himself because he couldn't afford it? But then he gave.
I think he's been into Bitcoin from.
Oh no, that's not him. It's another guy within that space, and I was reading his story. And
who didn't have the money, but everybody donated the Bitcoin.
Yeah, because he had all the knowledge, and everybody gets like, we feel bad. You help me get wealthy. I'm gonna give you some. And he ended up getting a couple $1 million, and I forgot that brother's name, but yeah. But anyway, man, with all that being said, The Internet of Money and The Richest Man in Babylon, those are two excellent books. I'll make sure to put those in our recommended book list, because we have a recommended book list as we talk to people. We're going to build up a nice library of books, and these are all kinds of books on there. They're biographies, they're books about business. There's all kinds of books within our recommended book list. you can go to our Instagram page, hit the link in the bio, and see the recommended book list. And so that's another thing we're trying to do is help our people read more, man. But listen, Kaz, man, thanks for your time, man. How can the people, if anybody wants to try out your product, what is the best way for them to get in contact with you or
right now they can have my number. I give my number out freely, which is 516-491-6154, or my email, which is theanimatedspark@gmail.com. That's all one word. The Animated Spark makes it easy to spell it because that's what it is, those 3 words. The Animated Spark @gmail.com.
Okay.
You got me any which way, and we set it up, and I start, they can purchase the product directly through me, and my website is one price. I give a much better price once I know you. Once we've talked for even 20 seconds, I consider you somebody that I now know, and the price drops dramatically.
Okay, so I'll make sure I'll put all that information within the show notes as well as below if you're watching the video, in case you want to try one of his products or get in touch with him, or even ask him about his dividend investing because I see that's where your passion and your focus is.
Or the crypto investing.
Yeah. But I'm telling you, man, he be going so hard on the dividends, man. And it's funny because what I think is interesting is I pay attention. Every time you talk about dividends, you talk about your kids. And now I understand why. Now after you telling your plans, I see why. Because your dividend investing really isn't even for you.
It's not. I'm 51 years old. I've only been in dividend investing for the last 6-7 months.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be for me. What am I going to do? Even if I last at the age of 85, that's 30 years. I can't turn around and start using that. So the CBD stock
listen,
option,
man, you play it right.
Stock option should make me a multi-millionaire.
You play it right, you can do that with dividends too. But we'll talk about that offline because listen, there's certain plays you can make with that'll.
Yeah.
But that's either here or there.
Options. I figured stock options will do that for me. In 2020. When this is really rolling downhill and I'm seeing anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 a day, I can then shift my focus back to the abacus like I can.
Yeah, I mean the fact that you're sitting here talking about e-commerce, stock options, and dividend investing. This conversation, just the fact that you're having this conversation, is amazing, right? Because, and that's what I say. There are brothers and sisters out here who are doing all kinds of things, like this brother right here, who found a product that saved his life. He's helping save other people. He's also trading stock options, and he's a dividend investor. He's in the crypto space. So, for those out there just wondering, man, listen, you could do it all.
Listen, he's still living 24, 25 years after the doctor gave him 4 years to live.
Yeah, how about that? How about that? How about that right there? Listen, man. So again, man, let's get out of here, man, because we could talk all night. I just want to say much success to you, good brother. I will put all of your contact info so people get in contact with you, man. I just want to say thank you for your time, and and much success.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show. This has been a benefit to me. I'm fortunate to know people like you through the abacus and to move forward, through the years, because that's basically what it is, building alliances with people who are trying to do it. All of us the same color. So
absolutely.
We don't have to know about that part coming in. So it's been a pleasure getting to talk to you and Corey. It's been a beautiful night.
I appreciate that. Corey, any last words before we get out of here, good brother?
Nah, man, the story is amazing. Like, we just want to bring, these entrepreneurs and these stories to people to let them know that the world is a really big place, but it's also a really small place. If everybody work and spend their time together and move together as one, move as a unit.
Absolutely. So before I got out of here, I want to tell you guys again, don't forget, pick up Corey and I's book, Own Your Time and Space. The link will be in the description box, or you can go to ownyourtimeandspace.com. Don't forget to share this content. Share everything that we do. Make sure these stories get out there. If you have any questions for us, or if you have anybody that you feel like we should talk to that's doing some positive work in the community, building a business, hit us up and let us know what's really going on, man. So as we always say, it's not about how much money you make, it's how much you keep. Game elevates. And, we'll talk to you another time, man. Peace.
Peace.